Well, good morning. That's got us through that little patch. It's 8:31 on the 1st of November, 2022. Only a month and 3/4 left before we go into the next year. I wonder whether it'll be as what should we say, anxious and surprising as 2022. We haven't had a month in which something new hasn't happened, some new crisis across us, right from the lifting of lockdown to let's get everybody in Parliament, let's commit political suicide, and it's happening all over again. It's really just so sad that well, there we go. That's our world, and welcome to it. I'm wearing a different hat this morning because I have to warn you that it's very boisterous outside, very boisterous indeed. We've got brisk winds. It's going to be a bit cooler than of late, about 15 or 16, and there will be some rain throughout the day. And I hate to say it, but so far, if you actually look at the long range forecast, there's a weather warning out for November the 5th. But other than that, it says that it's going to be a little bit of rain, a relatively mild night, and not too bad all in all. And particularly no strong winds, and that with fireworks, of course, and bonfires, that's the worst scenario, is to have strong winds. There are one or two things in the inside part of the paper this morning, which I shall relate to you in good time. But I'm just going to do our check to make sure that we're coming through loud and clear. Because when there's only just me, I have to do these things, and I'm not very good at them. I must say. There we go. We're okay. Yeah. The picture seems to be fine. So what we'll do is we will launch into the newspapers, right? The Times, alarm at Braverman's immigration rhetoric. What has she said? Hey, listen, we've got a crisis with immigration, and we better do something about it. And all the Liberals, and I have to say that most of the Liberals are in the Conservative Party now. All the Liberals say, you can't say that. Well, she did. Whether you're a supporter or not, she did. She had the guts to say it. What we all know. Oh, you mustn't say that because you'll upset the wokes. For God's sake, let's rip this Parliament apart. Let's get rid of them. All of them. 650 of them. They are not worth the candle. They really aren't. They are so worried about what people might say and what people might do and what happens in the next election and so on, is that they've forgotten why they're there. They're there to govern and rule, and they don't do any of that. None of it. And that goes from the cabinet right down to the newest backbencher. Get rid of the lot of them. None of the above, as Dexter Brewster would have said. None of the above. It really gets quite sickening that they play fast and loose with the electorate, with the country, while they look after their own self-serving purposes. It's sickening, absolutely. And not only that, because the liberal press, and I say that in the broadest sense, I'm not picking on any particular newspaper. The liberal press say, oh, yes, oh dear, she's opened her mouth again, or whatever. They are the biggest hounders of the lot. Stop it. Media, do what you're supposed to do. Report. Yes, comment if you wish, but report above all, and stop sounding alarmist every time some MP that says something worthwhile actually says it, and says it in public, because you just show yourself up to be nothing more than mouthpieces for the establishment. No matter what you say. And the Guardian, who keeps on saying how independent it is, Braverman increases the refugee rhetoric as pressure to quit grows. Well, it's all very well to say that, but the other papers are saying there are as many people who support her and think that she took the right stand as are against her. But will the Guardian say so? No, it will not. And it says it's independent. Give us some money, it says, because we're the only people that report independently. It does not. It is I could spit. As a long-term journalist, I could spit. We have no decent press left, I don't think. Nowhere in this land, this fair land of ours, do we? Yeah, well, when all fails, have a go at your own. The Guardian leads on the Home Secretary's woes. The paper focuses on Miss Braverman's insistence that she did not block plans to temporarily house some asylum seekers in local hotels to avoid overcrowding in migrant centres. But it notes her denial is contradicted by multiple sources. Multiple sources, here we go, who told the paper, yeah, well, they would, wouldn't they? That's this paper. She had been repeatedly warned of overcrowding, and it leads with a striking image of an asylum seeker behind a mesh fence in Manston, Kent. So, what are we supposed to do with these people who come ashore? What the Guardian should, and some of these other people who welcome all these people, is go down to the beaches and kiss them as they come ashore. Keep the mafia going. Make sure that these people in little rubber boats are paid their huge amounts for dangerous dinghies. You know, it's all very well good, but it is, as somebody said, tough love. Phrase used in the Americas, tough love. If we want to help these people, let's stop them and take them and turn them back. Not keep them in these centres. That's quite right. We don't want them in filthy centres. We want them back to where they belong. Not here. And actually, if there's a resentment growing, and I can understand why there's a firebombing, not that I approve of it, but I understand why there was a firebombing, because resentment is growing among some people that refugees are better off than some of the people that are having to rely upon food banks and are finding the pressure of cost of living unbearable. And I might as well just say, while we're onto that issue about the cost of living becoming unbearable, is big companies haven't stopped sending threatening letters and pushing letters, right? They're treating everybody just in the arrogant way that they always have. I never thought that I would actually attack big business, or any business for that matter. I'm a private enterpriser, and basically I'm a conservative with a little c. But the way they're behaving is sickening, and it's because they're not trained. There's a bunch of kids in charge. That's why, and that's why we're in a mess in this country, because we handed it over to the kids. Youth, youth, youth. Yes, give the 12-year-olds a vote. Oh, God, where are those people now? It is just frightening that these people can wage such influence, because that's who has got us into this mess. That's who. I may be old, and I may be bigoted, and I may be all sorts of isms, which I'm not. I have no ism in me. But just some of the decisions that are made are just stupid. And that's why most of the people in Westminster should go. And since I can't differentiate which ones should stay, let's get rid of them all. Cabinet anger as Braverman fights for her political life. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, here we go again. All right. Her admission that the UK immigration and asylum system is broken. Right? She shouldn't have said that, they said. Oh. The fact that it is shouldn't be said. Keep it under wraps. Keep the public in the dark. Don't let them know that we're in trouble. We know that you're in trouble. We know that we're in trouble. We're not stupid. And that's how Parliament is treating us at the moment. Well, let me tell you, the stupid ones are you people in that bubble. We ain't so daft on the streets. Not as daft as you think, anyway. Oh, dear. The The Metro. Welcome to the UK, and it's got a picture of some children behind a wire mesh door. But I'm sorry, we did not invite these people. They chose to come here illegally. Illegally. Now, what we do with people in this country is, when they've behaved illegally, is we actually shut them up. We put them behind bars or behind fences or whatever. So what we're doing with these people who wade ashore is exactly that. But, oh, the liberal establishment cannot have that. Oh, dear me, no. What we should do is be kissing these people and giving them care packages until it comes out of their ears. Oh, dear, dear, dear. The Daily Mail. Suella. Channel migrant crisis out of control. Right. Well, we start to get a bit of sense out of things through the Mail. The Mail front page splashes, as it says, that she thinks that the UK migrant crisis is spiraling out of control. It carries comment from a Treasury official who warns of impending tax rises for the entire country. The official tells the paper the rises will be rough, and most revenue will be raised through stealth taxes, such as a freeze on income tax levels. Hey, what did we expect? We've been saying that for a year too, and now suddenly our politicians are waking up to the fact that that's what they've got to do, and they've got what they hold their hands up to. The Daily Telegraph, sweeping tax rises on rough road ahead. Gee whiz, gee whiz. Impending tax rises. The Prime Minister and the Chancellor have agreed tough decisions to fill a £50 billion budgetary black hole. It says Chancellor Jeremy Hunt is planning a mix of 25 billion in tax rises and 25 billion in spending cuts. The story is accompanied by an image of Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, his wife, and their dog standing on the steps of Downing Street. Whoop-de-doo, whoop-de-doo. The Daily Express. Dire warning, higher taxes on the way to plug budget. Much the same. A painful autumn statement. Pension triple lock, which ensures pension payment rise by whichever is highest out of inflation. Average earnings of 2.5% could be under threat. Yeah, well, they do want to commit suicide. Yeah, they back themselves into it. Now what they're doing is trying to get us to back them out of it. Daily Star, hothouse of Commons. It's so toasty, windows left open all winter. Basically, what the Star is saying is they just leave the heat on, leave the it's all warm in the House of Commons in Westminster, whereas many people now are beginning to find that they can't afford the fuel bills, domestic fuel bills. Right. So the main story is Braverman, and that she's under pressure. And I'm sure that she is. But, is she under the pressure for the right things? I don't know. Let's calm me down, shall we? Has that calmed me down? Not a bit of it. I loaded for bear this morning, and it didn't help with me getting in the downpour on the way in very early. It was around 6:45 that I actually arrived here. I beat everybody in this morning. I suppose really that the festival of the pumpkins, Halloween is over, so perhaps we better just change the background, should we? Yes, we should. Shall we go? We'll go back to fireworks just for a moment, I think. Um, and well, yes, there we go. We've got fireworks up there for a little while. And in fact, that's really what we should do is all this week remind people what we are about this coming Saturday, and let's hope that the weather is half decent, because it sure as hell isn't today. But let's see. We'll just have just a minute or two of it to remind us. Yes. We're in for plenty of that stuff on Saturday. Mirador Television is broadcasting from 6 in the evening till 10, or as we put it, the last rocket is fired. So do join us for a blow by blow description. And we're actually going to get a reaction from around the world, because we are not a parochial. We've got Suzanne Musho coming on to take a look and see what the reaction of Americans are, and also Melissa Conti from New York. We've got Jane Watkins in Hastings taking a look, as well as Nick Bird out on the street, and the Max Hurd fiddling around on the edges. And I will be perched on the balcony of the White Hart Hotel with a great view, and we'll bring you great pictures. So do join us. There is another service if you wish. The Rocket Radio abandons radio for the evening and does a live stream on video, so you can get a good view. They actually overlook the War Memorial. We overlook the main street, and but we will have people out and about reporting back. So do join us. Do join us on Saturday night. Just looking at the local news, limited though it is a Hove rapist who preyed on women across Brighton is jailed after nightclub and flat attacks. And a man from Hove was sentenced after a 7-day trial, found him guilty of committing serious sexual offences. Is Abdullah Job, who's 29, Harmsworth Crescent in Hove, was convicted at Chichester Crown Court for the offences. So there we are. He's been put away. He won't be committing too many of those. Right, and the strikes at the Royal Mail have been called off, but a new date is being set for when they'll start. The planned strikes by the Royal Mail workers in the next 2 weeks have been called off following a challenge by the company to that decision for them to strike. And members of the Communication Workers Union are involved in a long-running dispute over pay and conditions. A series of strikes have taken place in recent weeks, and more action had been planned. The union said that following a letter from the Royal Mail's legal team, it had decided to withdraw industrial action and notices over the next 2 weeks. So there we go. That's it. I think we'll. The rest is really trivia, and we won't worry too much about that. So, where are we now? We're at 8:53. It is 7 minutes to 9. And perhaps what we'll do is we'll take our first look at the inside of the papers, because there are a couple of things that. You see, after the headlines that we read out, and I was getting a bit steamed up about a couple of the papers intimating that she was Suella was Braverman, that is, was on a sticky ground. Well, she is with some, but that the Tory right backs Suella. A private email storm. What they're having a go at is she sent secure papers or state secret papers on her own private email, and they're saying, "Oh, she's there 6 times." Oh, well, she did. She made a mistake. She's put her hands up. Forget it. It's not worth worrying about. It starts to smack of Christmas cake and packets of crisps. What documents does she says papers and a briefing for a ministerial meeting on illegal and legal migration. Papers and briefing for a virtual meeting on recent protest activities and public disorder. Media briefing ahead of a virtual newspaper interview. Pages and a briefing sent while in transit in a 5 p.m. virtual meeting that was subsequently cancelled. And then the submission on a protest activity due to be the subject of a virtual ministerial meeting the next day, although it was postponed until October the 15th. And then a briefing for the same virtual ministerial meeting. Oh, God. If the Russians get a hold of that, we're in real trouble, aren't we? Oh, Jesus. Ooh. I'm really getting quite upset. Well, let's see. Rishi's tax rises for everybody. Well, we've been through that. And a bit of hanky-panky in the Navy. The council's revolt on hotels for asylum seekers is growing. In other words, local councils are saying, hey, knock it off. The hotels in our towns are getting full of migrant seekers. What we want is we want paying tourists. And let's see, the home of a fire bomber was raided. Russia suffers its deadliest day as 1,000 troops die. We keep on losing sight of what's happening in Ukraine, and we shouldn't, because this is a war that is bitter and vicious, and both sides are. It's a backwards and forwards situation, and the fact is that if Vladimir Putin gets a bloody nose, a really bloody nose, who knows what his reaction will be. I keep on saying that, and some of the experts keep saying that, and everybody around me says, "Oh, no, he won't." It's because we've never experienced war. We've got generations who've never experienced war. Goodness gracious me. I really don't quite understand what we're doing in ignoring that. But anyway, Russia has suffered its deadliest day as 1,000 troops die. And apparently there's some video showing the troops panicking and rushing back towards a tank, which is then nuked. Well, it was hit by a Ukrainian missile. And that, of course, has prompted a missile attack on Kiev, or round and about, where it is now said there is no hot water, no heating, and so on. Okay, that would be bad enough here, but in the depths of a European continent, that can be very, very dangerous for the health of the people who live there. Conspiracy trolls accuse victims of Manchester bomb of faking the atrocity. Shock horror. Nestle's price hike in a run up to Christmas. So Nestle are putting up their chocolate. Why do we need chocolate at Christmas? Let's buy something else. We're all on about healthy stuff. Not much there. Now here's one that I think that we all need to be aware of. You may have trouble getting a turkey. You may have trouble getting a turkey at Christmas because the equivalent of avian flu, bird flu, has hit the turkey population, and they're dropping dead. By the hundreds. And as a consequence, there's a shortage of these birds in the shops. And of course, whenever there's a shortage, then the price goes up for those things that are remaining. So get braced for that. There's a big avian flu hitting turkeys at the moment. If they can't contain it, we're all in trouble for Christmas. Might have to go back to goose. That was Dickensian time, goose. Turkey is a recent innovation. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, and that means I'm not absolutely sure of my facts, but I think it was Queen Victoria's husband, Albert, who introduced the turkey into Christmas here. And up until that time, particularly in Dickensian times, we did have goose, as outlined and illustrated in A Christmas Carol, a wonderful Christmas story about Scrooge and the three ghosts that convert him from a miserable old man to a very buoyant and generous denizen of the city of London, looking after a little boy called Tiny Tim. Wonderful story. David Davis is writing in the Mail today. He says, "I'm a strong believer in the right to asylum, but our system is being grossly abused." And then there is a comment on Elon Musk's 38 billion takeover of Twitter, and he's undermined libertarian causes by tweeting a baseless slur about a top US politician's husband. Raising a profound question: how far should free speech go? Well, how far should it go? I don't know. We push it to the limits on this program, but we do so in the full knowledge that some people will not agree with us. In fact, many people won't agree with us. That we have the right to say what we want, that we let anybody onto this show as long as they actually don't libel somebody. We allow people on and let them have a go at whoever and whatever they want. So free speech is alive and well on Mirador television. But here's Little John. It is because he's echoing what I've been saying for some time. He says, I've never known a political class so out of touch with the people. And then a little extra quote, who, after all, paid their wages. And I haven't read his column, but the sentiment just in the headline is certainly one that I think is, we'll say something. What one is absolutely right is that they've lost touch with us in Westminster. They are so busy worrying about, first of all, their morals and oh dear, how naughty Boris was, and then they are also afraid of what's going to happen in the polls. So as a consequence, they're running around trying to kill every new idea, particularly if it doesn't fit in with what their idea is. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Let's see if we can find anything to offset that, shall we? Why not? I know one thing that we'll do is because we got over Halloween. So shall we actually just go outside Lewis for a moment or two, and we could go to the if we can find it. Oh, there, the Sackville Ghost. Yes, let's go and have our bottoms pinched.
Mickleham Priory is near Lewes. It was a former Augustine 13th century monastery. The main building has been preserved, but the church was pulled down by Henry VIII. The monks there had a reputation for naughtiness. Ghostly figures of monks are often seen walking the grounds. Stories of orgies and chasing the girls in the local village were legion. The priory became a private residence. One of its occupants was Sir Thomas Sackville, who lived there in the late 1500s. He was, by all accounts, a nasty bit of work. His ghost is said to bully the other spirits, as well as unsuspecting mortals. It must be true, I felt him kick me.
I forgetting to put that on. Go out to that part of the world, Mickleham Priory. It's near Upper Dicker, because the priory is very well preserved. It's very interesting. It's got wonderful grounds with an active watermill in it. And generally speaking, you can understand the luxury in which these monks lived. And they were naughty boys. I mean, they were rousting. They partied almost every night. And on the nights that they didn't party, they went into the village and chased the young maidens, much to the chagrin of the villagers, and particularly the dads of these young maidens, who said, "Tut, tut, tut, leave my daughter alone." And if in the day that they felt the need for a little libation, they had a pub at the entrance to the priory. So Mickleham, well worthwhile having a little visit, a little go out and see, if you want a day out. And it can be a day out if you want. You can take a picnic and sit in the grounds and enjoy yourself just as much as you can in any other park. And we, all in all, not too bad. Why don't we? Yes, we can. We can see, can't we? Right, all right. Let's remind everybody who we are and where we are. Okay. Mirador Television, broadcasting from the town of Lewes in East Sussex, on the southern part of England, but going to many parts of the world. We really are like that famous beer, refreshing the parts that other television cannot refresh or cannot reach. And we do reach some very strange places. We've got one fan who regularly taps into us in Patagonia, of all places. And our argument is that the stuff that our people in Lewes, sensible people, intelligent people in Lewes will enjoy and understand is equally as interesting to people in other parts of the world of similar background, similar culture, similar age, and so on and so forth. So there you are. That's the driving factor behind some of our stuff. And indeed, why not? It's as good as anything else, isn't it? Sure is, yeah. Right, okay. Let's just remind you who we are again. Why not? Why not? Why not? Why not? Well, now, let me tell you that if there ever was a dancer with two left feet and didn't undo his shoelaces, it's me. It really is. However, there is a couple of ladies who did appear for a season on Mirador, and very fine ladies they are, is Joe and Lou, who are dance instructors, and they are damn good ones too. But they took a look at me and they said, "Come on, Keith, dance with us." And I said, "I can't dance." No. So they took up the challenge and they said, "Well, I'll tell you what, we'll teach you." Yeah, I said. I thought I can give these two a bad time, a stubborn time, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. And they took up the challenge. So let's see how they made out, or how I made out, or how somebody made out. We need to let's see. Well, no. Hey, here we go. Yes. No. He said, yes, no. Wow, there's a clatter and a bang. And who's here is Kevin. Good morning, Kevin. How are you, my boy?
Oh, okay. The others, believe me.
Are you getting everything ready there to take in the hordes into your bar?
Yes.
Right.
Yes, we're getting everything ready for Saturday. The bonfire.
Indeed. Well, we shall be here with you.
Are you here? Are you?
Yes.
Nice.
It's well, where else would we go?
No, that's true. Are you going up the top?
Yes.
Oh, right.
Yes.
So, Keith.
Camera.
Just a moment.
Oh,
Listen, I'm
Sorry?
with two con artists here. I've just watched them dance. Just watch this clip for 15 seconds, and they think I'm going to do that. Oh, you con ladies, you con ladies. I'll try and do a shimmy, but that's about the most that I can do. Okay, girls, bring it
Come
on.
on, let's shimmy. Shimmy now. We're going to move it, we're going to shimmy, we're going to get you nice and loosened up. This is Latin, so we want a real Latin fever. We're going to put some samba music on, and we're just going to get shimmying away. You up for it?
Oh.
Are you ready?
Yes, do I need that for
Okay.
this?
You can hold on to it
Right.
if you feel more
But
secure with it.
if you want, because you could free up your arms completely.
That's jazz hands. That's jazz hands. We don't want jazz
Oh,
hands
no, jazz
in a
hands.
samba.
Right, what do we do
But
with
they were
that?
very good for jazz hands.
Let's have a look again.
So-
What's a shimmy?
So a shimmy is the movement of the shoulders,
right.
but no duck wiggling as you're doing it.
Oh,
so you've
right.
got to do what's known as isolation, where your top half of the body is moving, but your lower part of the body isn't moving, or vice versa. So for this, we're just going to be slightly apart with our feet,
Right.
okay?
Yeah.
And we're not going to move anything from below our rib cage, okay?
Right.
So we're going to be using our shoulders. And all you're going to do is your right shoulder, you're going to go forward and then bring it back. So forward and back, forward and back. Now change to the left shoulder. We're going to go forward and back, forward and back. Good. So now you've got to do them either way, opposite times. So you're going to go right, left, right, left. So as the right one goes forward, the left one goes back. Good. So right, left, right, left. And that's the basic elements of a shimmy.
That's a shimmy.
Yeah,
Not
but
quite.
you've just got to get it up to speed, Keith.
Oh, right, okay. Let's have a
So
look at
let's
speed.
go slowly.
All right.
So we're just going to get our arms nice and loose. Nice and loose. Give yourself a little wiggle. Give yourself a little wiggle. We're nice and loose. So you're just going to go like that. Bit faster.
Swing each one forward, slightly smaller with the
Yeah,
shoulders.
so don't. So
Smaller
we're not
movements.
moving our whole body.
That's back to your status quo.
Yeah, you've gone back to your status quo there. So
Right, am I moving my body?
I don't know what he said then.
You said, am I moving my body? No,
Yes,
keeping
you
it-
are.
Oh.
You're doing this, so you're turning.
right, I'm gonna
like
do
this.
that.
So you'll just think shoulder, shoulder,
That's
shoulder,
it.
shoulder.
That's it.
small movements,
That's
really
it.
small, and just opposite. And you're just going to do this. So if I can just show you.
Can I hold my hands like
Yeah,
yours?
like
It looks
that.
so elegant.
That's it. That's better.
That's it.
I love the facial expressions. I can't talk though because when I'm dancing I've got horrible facial expressions. For the love of it. So we've got to get that just coming in a little bit faster. So you're just moving the chest. That's it. So isolate the waist. Think of your spine. You're pulling up from your spine and
Right.
you're circulating on your spine.
Right.
That's it. That's it. We've gone a little bit Incredible Hulk. So maybe not quite the Hulk,
If I only
Loosen
had the
up.
muscles.
Looseness. Look at those guns. So just nice and loose, and you're just gonna
Right.
give it a little shimmy. I think we should just put some music on and do it.
Okay.
Let's have a little bit of samba, Joe. That's all it is. It's just loose. Feel the music. Feel the rhythm. Samba beats pulsing through your body. That's it. Nice and slow. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. A little bit faster. 1, 2. Oh, look, it's off. Bit faster. There you go. You've got a bit rigor mortis.
We're just doing
Get rid of the
arms.
ringer.
What happened to the shoulders?
That's it. Nice and
That's
loose
it.
in the arms. That's it. Look at that face. Face of a champion, that. Very good. That's it. Loosen up. Loosen up. There's the
She won't
smile.
come out to say
There's
I'm
the
nowhere near
smile.
as good as them. Oh, it's beautiful.
Try and keep the bottom still.
That's it.
I,
Try and put your arms down here a bit. So
Relax.
let them swing.
Relax.
Don't move the arm. Don't move the arm.
don't move the arms.
Shoulders.
The arm will move if your shoulder will move.
Right.
So don't think about the arms, think about the shoulders.
You bring your feet into it.
Oh, I'm not supposed to move the bottom half.
Just literally tap each bit.
That is finished.
It's not a bad shimmy, is it? It's not a bad shimmy. Well done, Keith. Another success ticked off.
Well, was it a success? I don't know. I still, without any instruction, can't shimmy. But at least you can see me having a go. And they certainly worked very hard at trying to get some sort of movement out of me. And I suppose if they thought they were a success, I must have got a shimmy or two here and there. All right. Now, let's just recap. It's Braverman, the Home Secretary, who is under fire today. Wouldn't you know it? It's the Russians who have taken a beating from the Ukrainians. Apparently 1,000 Russian troops killed in a day. And Mr. Putin is not best pleased. And the weather is pretty rough out there. The wind is not gentle. In fact, that's why I'm wearing this hat today, because if I wore my trilby, it would be at the other end of Lewis within about 2 minutes. And generally speaking, we've got poor conditions. It's going to improve as the week goes on, and hopefully for Saturday there will be very little wind, and that's the main thing. Possibility of a little bit of rain here and there, and a chilly but not unpleasant evening. So conditions should be sort of fairly ideal for the big day. Everybody gearing up for it now. You can hear the odd bonfire sort of banger going off in the evening now as people test everything. So not a bad not a bad day at all. Not a bad day in forecast at all. Okay, let's go down to the park for a minute or two and catch our breath. Well, am I back? It's difficult to say. Yes, I am. Here we are, and hopefully you're getting a decent picture. We still haven't quite got this thing right yet. We'll have to see why it falls out a little bit. I'm sure that Kevin Kramer will be around soon, and we can have a chat to Kevin and find out what his thoughts are on it. And 'cause he recommended it, and it seems to be working extremely well. But let's see what he has to say, and whether he can offer any advice as to how it will stay on track. Hey, by gum, lad. Let's just go back to the papers then and take a look at some more of the insides. The back pages, as usual, are full of the football nonsense and rubbish. I mean, if you want to talk fake news and gossip, that's where to go. Marital bliss can heal a broken heart. Oh, Musk wants £17 Twitter charge. Yeah. Pay £17 to get on Twitter. Some people have got to be mad, but then they are, aren't they? However, the thing is that it still hasn't sunk through to these people yet. That the kids, particularly, are going to find that their money is drying up. That they will probably go through a learning curve once the economy really does tighten. That they can buy this or they can buy that, and they can't buy everything and just splash out 17 quid here and 10 quid there and 25 quid here. Life is going to change dramatically for them. And I would have thought that if whatever his name is, who has purchased Twitter, is it Twitter he's purchased? Yes, I think it is, isn't it? The money isn't going to come in as quite as readily, and he's paid an awful lot, a few billions for it, and obviously thinking that it's going to make a fortune. Perhaps he's right. Perhaps the one thing that kids aren't going to give up, perhaps they will starve themselves to death rather than give up their Twitter and their tweet. Not a great deal after the stories that I've read out to you already. Could unlocking your tax-free cash be the solution you need? Well, that's another piece of advice. How to manipulate your money, but I don't think that most people do. Some people do, and do it quite successfully, but most people don't. I think they don't even know what they've got or how to manipulate, even if they're shown total hands-on. Not much, I'm afraid. Some medical advice, osteoporosis, whatever the hell that is. Something to do with the bones, I suppose. In the letters column, the poodle is not French. Once again, who gives a fig? That is the inside of the newspapers. Now what we'll do? Oh, yeah, let's do a little sting in the tail of the power companies.
Well done, the energy companies. They're full of bright ideas to help their customers. Now they've made power so expensive that for an average house such as this, you can't afford to heat it. So you don't need appliances such as this. But that means you also don't need a fridge, because you can keep your groceries cool and fresh without it. The house is cold enough. Well done, chaps.
Don't take it too seriously. It's just showing. It's actually we sort of take it for granted that the economy will spank us from time to time, and okay, we live through it for a few minutes and then off we go, and we don't learn any lessons. Surely we are beginning to learn now that if we don't have a government with people who know how to run it, if we don't have power companies steered by people who don't know how to run it, if we don't have health services steered by people who don't know how to steer it, then we are in trouble. And it's about time that we actually start to look at why. What is the problem? I would suggest to you that we've got a whole generation that it was never trained. It's not that they're not clever, but they were never trained. As a consequence, they sit on their backsides, go for lunch twice a day, meet in the bar for a glass of champagne at 5 o'clock, and take about 3 hours to get home, hitting several pubs and the buffet in the train. We don't have buffets in the train anymore. You know, if there's anything that is so sad to see, it's the disappearance of civilized travel. At one time, traveling by train you could look forward to. Absolutely fantastic. Particularly the early morning train, because on the intercities, at least, if the dining car wasn't filled with people from first class, and it rarely was, then it was open to people in second class to go and have exactly the same amenity. And you could actually start your breakfast in Birmingham and still be at the table when you got to London. And a very pleasant journey it was. I couldn't believe it when a few years ago, I went on an intercity and found out that all it got is a couple of sandwiches and a bag of crisps. I really couldn't believe it. You see, the people running the railways have no idea what really matters, and that is that you take people from point A to point B in comfort. And if you have to provide a few extra trains because of the popularity, so be it. But we've got to get back to some sort of semblance. And not only that, because we have done away with civilized things like that, we have become uncivilized. We're not a civilized society anymore, not in the broadest sense. We really aren't. People eat hamburgers on the go. That's how they eat their meals. And they laugh when you tell them that 75 years ago, you would have been expected to sit at a table and have had a proper meal and behave properly and shown some sort of manners. They laugh. They think it's funny. And yet they don't realize that they're are holding themselves up to a reflection of what they are rather than what they should be. Yeah. Just crackers. Absolute crackers. I really don't know what we're up against or what we're on about. Let's see. I tell you what, there was a lot of very good comment yesterday about Claudine's little trip through autumn. Let us go with Claudine Harper for a minute or two and get a feel for what it's all about. Well, how nice it is at this time of the year. Here she is.
since I was a teenager, I've always loved autumn. And as I grow older, I still love autumn. And when I go out, I just am captured by all the colours that come up, the reds and the yellows. And then if you look down, you have gorgeous leaves, dead leaves, that are crunchy, and you just kick through them. So even when I'm my age at 39, I can act like a child and just kick through the leaves. What I find fascinating about autumn are the little treats you get. You get acorns and conkers, and they're hanging from trees looking pretty, or they're on the floor and you just want to collect them and put them in a bowl. And that's one of the things you can do in autumn. You can just collect all the things that you find pretty, like the gorgeous leaves, the red leaves, such as this. Those kind of brown. And get your acorns. Hang on. Acorn. And your conkers, and put them in a nice centerpiece bowl on your table. And it, to me, represents the change of season, obviously, but that we're going from, I think, an unpleasant summer. As we get older, summers are too warm. And autumn is just the right temperature, where you can relax a little bit and take your time, read a book and cozy up at home. And then when you want to go out, you can enjoy all the colours that are around.
Season of mist and mellow. Yeah, I've got the I've got the nice music behind me. There we go. Byung, byung. Okay, so this morning in the news, the Home Secretary, Ms. Braverman, has been taking stick about the fact that she said in Parliament system, immigrant system is in tatters. It's broken. Something that we've all known for a long time. And what do our MPs do? Well, at these silly people that we've now got trying to govern us. Don't say that. It upsets the electorate. Yeah, sure does. But only because it would have upset us if you didn't say it, because we've known about it for a long time. We are not a society. We're not a closed society. We have access to information. And fairly, despite the best efforts of some members of our establishment to shut us up or deny us access to decent information services, is we are well informed. We can see what's going on. And we know when people are behaving well and governing us well, and when they're not, and you're not. Those people in Westminster. As Little John says in the Mail this morning, he has never known a parliament so out of touch, so unresponsive to its electorate. And yet it's the one thing that it does not discuss. It is so convinced that it knows what it's all about and what they should be doing, that they actually deny themselves a chance to do it. It's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. and I'm afraid that's what we're having to put up with at the moment. Right, okay. Let's look for a nice program to take our minds off things for a while. We've got a lovely piece from Stephen Catlin, which we'll play later in the day, simply because we're having a little bit of a problem transferring it from the camera that it was taken on. We don't know why, but it is. But it's a lovely piece from him, and we will show it once we've actually managed to transfer it. It's just so strange when these systems will play up and won't actually talk to one another. We really we really want to find out exactly why they give us problems and so on. And I never seem to find anybody who knows. Now, let's go to something that we play regularly, and the town. Oh, I can hear the beer coming out there. Oh, I expect I'll be asked to taste it this morning. Kevin's chuckling.
I am struggling. It's not working. I don't know why.
Oh dear. You're having problems too.
Yeah.
Okay, let's like Lewis, because we live in a lovely town, and there's no reason we need not feel ashamed that we store up pleasures to ourselves. So here we go. Why we're not getting a picture of that. None whatsoever. What we will do is we will try and see if we can reload it and get a picture. But these are the sort of things that really upset me a great deal, because there is no explanation whatsoever. And when you actually take the problem to somebody who is a so-called expert, you can't get a straight answer. You really can't. Let's have another go, because we've been using that for weeks. For weeks. I like Lewis. Come on, let's like Lewis. There we are. I have no idea why that is not working the way that it should be. No, it is certainly not. And the funny thing is that it is in the little box, but it's not on the mainstream. And that we simply do not understand why on earth that should be. Well, no, it's not offering any advice. We'll try one more, and we may have to sort of go away for a minute or two to find out what on earth is going on. Let's try this one. There's been a few new additions to the town over the summer.
Whole raft of new eating and sleeping places cropped up in Lewis over the summer. Most of them were in Cliff, but Cote is at the top of the town on the high street. So far, I've only been in for a cup of coffee, but they've been very welcoming, and I suppose that it looks as if it'll do very well. Give it a try. Then there is Aqua at the bottom of the town, attached to the Premier Inn, also new. I've been in there as well, and they were equally as welcoming, and didn't mind that I just popped in for a cup of coffee and not a full meal. But Fuego is something else. I've only looked in through the front door. It's a new concept, of course, of cafe bar. Not new in the continent, I suppose, but not terribly frequent over here. And I haven't been in there because I'm a bit afraid I might go for the bar rather than the coffee. But one day I'll give it a chance. Anyway, some places new in Lewis over the summer and places for you to try.
I'm here in the village of Charleston, a charming, picturesque British village with a population of 500.
That's not Charleston, Keith. This is Charleston, South Carolina. A charming, picturesque village with a population of 120,000 in the United States.
What about this town, Boston? 120 miles north of London in England. Population, 35,000.
That's not Boston. This is the real Boston. Boston, Massachusetts, population 4 million.
What about this lovely little city, York? I suppose you Yankees have one of those too.
Yes, we do. Welcome to the new and improved York.
Now here's one you can't beat, London. That's London in England. Population, 8 million.
Okay, I'll give you that one.
Join us for a journey to different cities with the same name.
A new show comparing big American cities with the small British and European towns that share the same name.
We never should have let you win that little war, Melissa.
Actually, Keith, we beat you at 2 little wars.
What's in a name?
Coming soon to public television.
Little devil on my shoulder, never me to hold Really, check out as soon as I feel okay. Late nights, bright lights, wanna see the city tonight. Maybe I'll do it twice. Maybe I'll say fuck it tonight. Yeah, that's right. Little devil never wants to keep it on level. Don't care if I'm going to hell. No. I'm gonna do the little devil's deeds. Oh, 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 oh.
Okay,
Oh,
look at me.
do the little devil's deeds.
Okay, back again. Good.
All right.
Okay, keep going. Well, the funny thing is, I mean, you see it on television, they look at the camera and they look very funny.
This was what the prison looked like when the British Admiralty bought it to house the prisoners of war.
So they bought the prison and they made many adaptations to it. One of them, interestingly, they took the doors off the cells.
Good for freedom of movement, but not so good for privacy. The doors survive in the local museum, all that remains of the prison's interior. The prisoners were separated. The enlisted men, mostly Finns, Swedes and a few Ireland Islanders, were put into the prison, 3 to a cell. But it was a different situation for the Russian officers.
The officers, very different case. They were billeted out amongst the gentry families of the town and surrounding areas, not just Lewis. They had freedom of movement, they had freedom of association, and they generally joined in, if you like, middle to gentry class society. So we have an account, for example, of the officers being very popular dancing partners at local balls because they could waltz so much better than Englishmen. There we go.
Not all the Russians lost themselves in the pleasures of the waltz. Many, like Georg.
He sat on the bank while the river still chattered onto him, a babbling procession of the best stories in the world. That was the excitement that Mole experienced in the story Wind in the Willows. And indeed, rivers large and small everywhere all have many stories to tell. The River Ouse that flows through Lewis is no different. In fact, for much of the town's history, it has played an important part. Today, the river carries nothing but pleasure craft. But for a long time, it was a busy, bustling port. About a mile upstream from here is the village of Hamsey. It sits on a triangle of land which splits the river as it curves down towards the town. Hamsey is barely a village today. A few houses with the 13th century church standing in splendid isolation. But Hamsey was a Saxon port in the pre-Norman era. Historians estimate that over 1,000 people lived here, populating a port that saw ships sail up the Ouse to trade goods. There is no doubt that the Normans had a bit to do with its demise. The area was handed over to a Norman lord. But the community was attacked by an enemy it couldn't stop. An army of rats, which disembarked from one of the visiting ships, went ashore and infected the village with bubonic plague, the Black Death. Gardens. Very soothing, and Lewis has lots of them.
in our flight guide we show 650 metres, but there's a 235 metre overrun, so we're up to nearly 850 or so metres. We only permit single engine aircraft. We don't allow helicopters to come in, and we don't allow twins to come in, and that's largely from a noise point of view. We're very conscious that we don't want to annoy our neighbours in the local villages, the 3 villages that are sort of up at the western end of the airfield, as it were. There's nothing down at the eastern end, but Swanborough village, Iford village, and Rodmell, and Kingston to a certain extent. We want to keep that.
What are the restrictions? I mean, presumably you don't have night flying or any of that?
We don't have night flying. We don't have teaching. We don't have any flying for monetary gain or reward. The time we did it was 2 years ago. You've been asked several times by the villagers when are you going to have another open day? Unfortunately, we've picked a day which is not very clement in terms of the weather. But out of that, we like to think we strengthened the relationship with the villagers because we took ultimately we took children flying and doctors flying and village people, so quite a few of them have had flights with us from time to time, and we think that's important because we like to think that the airstrip and the Aero Club is an integral part of the community.
So you place your foot to assess the tension and convince yourself to continue knowing it's wrong. It's wrong. It's wrong. But when she's high, she's a skywalker. Doesn't matter. Just focus your mind on the wire ahead. It doesn't matter. It's a long way down. Long way down. What a spectacular performance. Though there will be no net for her. Such a spectacular performance. Who's going to break her fall this time? Skywalker this time. Skywalker. But when she's high, she's a skywalker. Skywalker. Just focus your mind on the wire ahead. It doesn't matter. Skywalker. Balancing high above the world tonight. Skywalker again.
Yes, well, they left me gaping there, didn't they? And that is a really first-class duo out of New Haven, believe it or not. John and Claire Fowler. They appear in a variety of venues around the South Coast. Well worthwhile catching if you can. Dandelion Charm. I know the family well. They're a very talented family, completely eccentric. I was going to say esoteric. I suppose esoteric is also a word that one could use about them. But father, and I suppose grandfather now, Clive, and I have had many an adventure, not least of which is scoffing a cake between us that was meant for a raffle. And then when we discovered that the lady who had presented this cape or donated it wanted to be there when the thing was raffled, we had to go looking for a cake that looked much like the one that we'd scoffed. The only thing is we couldn't remember what the one was like that we scoffed. We got away with it by the skin of our teeth. God only knows how. But it is sort of japes that we get up to. And we were no spring chickens either, believe me. No spring chickens at all. Now, let's get serious for a minute or two, because essentially what we've been doing is we've been living the life of Riley over the past 12 months. And in fact, over the past 2 years. Oh, yes, we've heard moans and so on about lockdown. And indeed, a lot of places were not available to us, like pubs and restaurants and so on. But generally speaking, nobody suffered terribly, terribly badly. And that was because the government put out sackfuls of money to everybody except people like me, and to keep them all going and to keep them on track to survive until such time as we were out of lockdown. Well, we're out of lockdown. And now the piper must be paid. And everybody has run away from it so far, or had bright new ideas about how they can actually solve it. Nobody liked Liz Truss's ideas. And so as a consequence, where are we? We're back to time-honored traditional ways of paying back. And it's going to hurt. Basically, Sunak and Hunt, the new team in Westminster, said they're going to cut back 25 million or billion on, it's 25 billion, I think, isn't it? Yeah, through cut back on public services. The only thing is that they've said that, but they won't actually say which services they're going to cut. And of course, the first thing that springs to mind is the one sacrosanct thing in their manifesto. And no government ever goes against its manifesto, except the present lot we've got in Westminster. And they're going to go against the triple lock guarantee for increased pensions that they made and put into their manifesto in the last election. Well, Rishi and Hunt look as if they're going to throw that pledge out of the window, which actually, that's as much political suicide as the lady Liz Truss proposed with her wacky plans. They are not coming up with anything that's innovative or reforming. They don't dare. Politicians hate reform, not least of which is they live in the bubble in Westminster where they're all right, Jack. They're okay. They take from the taxes and from the state rather than give. So they're not so badly off as the rest of us. But basically, we're in for a bad time. We're in for a bad time, and spending cuts won't fill the eye-watering black hole in the budget, so we'll all feel the pain. Somehow it's always the very wealthy that never feel the pain. But every household in the country will have to pay higher taxes because of the eye-watering budget black hole. That's what the Prime Minister has said, and the Chancellor has said. They agreed yesterday it was inevitable that all taxpayers, without exception, will face a higher burden in the coming years. It's going to go on. So we're going to be hit hard, and the comforts that we all enjoyed leading up to COVID are certainly not going to come back. we were told that life was going to change after COVID, and indeed it has, in many, many ways. The only thing is that sometimes I think that we've thrown the baby out with the bathwater, is where the opportunity to put society back into a moral feel about it, and a nice feel about your neighbor and about the things that are going on around you, is that we keep on losing that. It doesn't seem to be important. And it's wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, we're just going to slap another tax on you. We're going to put things higher. And actually, of course, there are people who take advantage, and there are the people who are in many ways able to avoid it. I am quite a fan of the Cornish pasty. Waitrose had the Cornish pasty, and before lockdown, well, in fact, after lockdown, up until about 2-3 months ago, it was £1. You really got a very nice pasty for £1. And then the issue of prices will have to rise and some things will be much more. It is now £1.95. The cost has doubled by almost 100%. It is double what it was before. Now, I cannot understand a justification for that. It just doesn't seem to me to make any sense. And if you actually go around the supermarket, you can start to see ice cream, for instance. You can't get anything for under £2.50 an hour, whereas before you could get a range of ice creams for £1 up to 5 or 6. No. Now you've got to pay a premium for all ice creams, and it's very sad. A whole host of other things. The cold meats, ham. They had a famous pound packet of ham slices for your sandwiches. That has now gone to £1.45. Cheese slices, same, £1.45. And so you can go on a litany of items where the rise has been way beyond the rise in cost of living. I mean, 10%, if you use 10%, which is the rate of inflation, as some sort of benchmark, that would have been enough. As it is, between 50 and 100% increase on a lot of foodstuffs, it's no wonder we're in trouble. No wonder we are getting twitchy about how Westminster is handling some of these things. And some of it they are not handling particularly well. So if in fact Sunak is going to dramatically increase, it is 25 billion from taxes, which would include VAT and so on and so forth, and taxes on goods. He's going to raise 25 billion in that way. Watch out for what you can take home. The other 25 billion is said it will be stealth tax. In other words, they will tamper with the income tax code as it is at the moment to make sure that that you are paying more than you did last year, with apparently smoke and mirrors Sunak saying, "Oh yeah, you see, we've actually managed to cut taxes for you, and still looked after the economy." Well, it's BS. It's BS. We expect to have to pay to help fill this hole, but not in some of the ways that the Premier and his finance man are looking at the moment. He's ignoring the vulnerabilities of our society. He is ignoring some of the things that are necessary to keep morale going, all the while enjoying all the subsidised things in Westminster. I would suggest, Mr. Sunak and Mr. Hunt, one of the first things that you could do if you're going to tamper with things like that is simply to get rid of some of these things that you have. Subsidised bars, subsidised meals, subsidised travel. The ability to swap your houses is it's just you give up that, and you will find that many of us will follow you. But you're not going to, are you? You don't consider your lot in Westminster to be vulnerable. Therefore, in playing silly games, you're simply that's what you're doing. You're playing silly games, and you're going to get caught. This time, you're going to get caught. There's not much sympathy around for you. You had to come out fighting. I don't know that you have. In fact, I think that the opposition have decided that you are as weak in many ways as Liz Truss, and they know how to handle her. So now they're handling you. That's the way it is. Yesterday we showed a historical piece of the major historical events that had taken place in November over the past centuries, decades, and even just 12 months. And I think what we'll do is, because actually we did have a little bit of a technical problem in the middle of that, I think we'll play it again today. And anyway, most of you won't have remembered all the things that have happened in this month. So let's go back and be reminded, shall we? Yes, why not? Why not indeed? Okay, there we go. Oh, no, I have to do that. That's what I have to do.
Lockdown this week. It's been unexpected, but this week we've experienced an event which will go down in the history books. Yes, the American presidential election took place, an incredible and explosive clash of candidates, with the result leaving a divided America. But the main event for us in the UK was the reintroduction of lockdown, as the biggest health crisis in 100 years continues to wreak havoc throughout the civilized world. So what else happened over the centuries this week that had an impact on society? Back in 1841, a young New Yorker, John Bidwell, was fascinated by the move westward as the United States kept pushing back its frontiers. The 24-year-old Bidwell organized the Western Emigration Society and led the first wagon train of pioneers across the Rocky Mountains to to settle in the largely unmapped territory of California. There were 69 adults, with only 5 women and a single couple with children. None of them, Bidwell included, had ever been to California. It was a tough journey, and they all suffered desperate hardship after having to abandon their wagons to cover the rough terrain. They arrived in California in November 1841. There were only 100 European Americans living in California before the new settlers arrived. Back in the eastern United States in 1864, a presidential election was held. The Civil War was still raging as the incumbent president, Abraham Lincoln of the National Union Party, easily defeated the Democratic nominee, former General George B. McClellan. Lincoln's re-election ensured that he presided over the successful conclusion of the war. But tragically, Lincoln was assassinated less than 2 months into his second term, and he was succeeded by his vice president, Andrew Johnson. In November 1917, leftist revolutionaries in Russia, led by Bolshevik party leader Vladimir Lenin, launched a nearly bloodless coup against the country's provisional government. The Bolsheviks and their allies occupied government buildings and other strategic locations in Petrograd, renamed Leningrad and then St. Petersburg, and soon formed a new government with Lenin as its head. So Lenin became the dictator of the world's first communist state. But civil war broke out in Russia in late 1917 after the Bolshevik Revolution with the warring factions, including the Red and White armies. The Red Army fought for Lenin's Bolshevik government. The White Army represented a large group of loosely allied forces, including monarchists, capitalists, and supporters of democratic socialism. On July the 16th, 1918, the Romanovs were executed by the Bolsheviks. The Russian Civil War ended in 1923, with Lenin's Red Army claiming victory and establishing the Soviet Union. 1922, and British exploration of the Middle East was in full swing. British archaeologist Howard Carter chiseled through a doorway in the Great Pyramids and entered Tutankhamun's tomb, where he found the boy pharaoh's body. The burial chamber had remained sealed for more than 3,200 years. The tomb's vast hoard of artifacts and treasures were intended to accompany the king into the afterlife. Tutankhamun ruled Egypt as a pharaoh for 10 years, until his death at age 19 in around 1324 BC. Howard Carter's find revealed an incredible amount about royal life in ancient Egypt, and quickly made King Tut the world's most famous pharaoh. The Hawker Hurricane fighter plane made its first flight in 1935. It became famous in World War II and accounted for over 60% of the air victories in the Battle of Britain. The plane initially failed to receive government funding for the building of a prototype, but Hawker Aircraft were so convinced of its success they proceeded to build it as a private venture. The first prototype flew this week in November 1935. The Hurricane tag was given to the plane by King Edward VIII during a visit to Hawker in July 1936. A total of 1,715 Hurricanes flew with fighter command during the Battle of Britain. It's estimated that Hurricane pilots were credited with 4/5 of all enemy aircraft destroyed in the period July to October 1940. In 1968, Republican candidate Richard Nixon, a congressman who had served as vice president under Dwight D. Eisenhower, was elected president of the United States. Nixon had stood for president in 1960, but lost to charismatic Massachusetts Senator John F. Kennedy. In 1974, he resigned rather than be impeached for covering up illegal activities of Republican Party members and his staff in the Watergate affair. The case was made famous by two reporters who used information from an informant called Deep Throat, who was never properly identified. Nixon died on April the 22nd, 1994, at age 81 in New York City. This week in 1972 saw legendary steeplechaser Red Rum win his first race. The horse was seen as hard to control and was sold on several times. He ran in a 5-furlong cellar at Aintree, in which he crossed the line in a dead heat victory. The Red Rum turned out to be a champion thoroughbred steeplechaser. He won an unmatched historic treble when he won the Grand National in 1973, 1974 and 1977, coming second in 1975 and 1976. The Grand National has been described as the ultimate test of a horse's courage. He was also renowned for his jumping ability. He never fell in 100 races. The 1973 Red Rum victory came from being 30 lengths behind, and this victory is often considered one of the greatest Grand Nationals of all time. Red Rum's historic third triumph in the Grand National was voted the 24th greatest sporting event ever. In 1974, the world was captivated by the brutal murder of a 29-year-old nanny named Sandra Rivet in London, and the rapid disappearance of the main suspect, an aristocrat named Richard John Bingham, or Lord Lucan. Lucan was a dashing British aristocrat and army officer, known for his prowess at backgammon and bridge, and his fondness for vodka martinis, powerboats, and Aston Martin cars. The murder took place in the dark basement of a townhouse, after which Lucan disappeared forever, meaning no one can say for sure what happened. He was declared officially dead in 2017. After murdering his children's nanny, Lucan attacked his wife, then fled south. He stayed with friends in the East Sussex town of Uckfield, where it is claimed the mafia, to whom he owed money, executed him. He was thought to have escaped by ferry after his blood-stained car was found in New Haven, or that he jumped overboard from a ferry with rocks in his pocket. No one will ever know. This week in 2004, 7 people were killed and 61 injured when a high-speed train hit a car on an isolated level crossing in a Berkshire village and was derailed. The 5:35 p.m. London to Plymouth service smashed into the vehicle on the unmanned crossing at 100 miles per hour, 30 minutes after leaving London's Paddington Station. There were around 300 people on board the train at the time. 2008, and back to elections again. Barack Obama became the 44th President of the United States, the first black person to do so. His father was from Kenya and his mother from Kansas. President Obama was born in Hawaii in 1961. He was sworn in on January the 20th, 2009, and served 2 terms in the White House. So elections dominated the headlines several times in this week in the past, as well as gruesome murders and winning racehorses. More events in history next week. This is Mirador Television with Once Upon a Time in This Week.
So once again, I've been sitting there with my lips moving and nothing coming out. Never mind. It's only for a minute or two, and it's 10:38, and I was just ruminating that this year, the year 2022, has had a shocker month. And are we going to get another one? Well, I mean, Sunak is setting his flag to the mast, isn't he? He's saying what he's going to do, and basically, it's what everybody has been expecting. Let's face it, we all knew that it couldn't last. We all knew that we were spending more than we were earning. And that's something that had got to be addressed, and so he's addressing it in the very harshest way that he possibly can. The only point that I made, and I made it earlier, is some of these savings could be made, quite a lot of these savings could be made in taking the privileges away from MPs. And of course, immediately they'll start to say, oh, but we work longer hours and so on and so forth than anybody else. Well, that's bullshit. I'm sorry. You do not. You most certainly don't work longer hours than we do here at Mirador. We are always, I mean, I was on the phone last night discussing some items about this television with Liza Page. And I was on with her at 11 o'clock at night. We talk things through on the weekends and then go searching for stuff to see whether we can improve what we're doing, bring new things to the table, and all the time making sure that we're editing stuff and so on. So we work 7 days a week, and often 15 or 16 hours a day. Well, I defy anybody in the House of Commons to top that. But would they very much offer some of the fringe benefits that they have to me? No, of course they wouldn't. And as a consequence, they leave resentment behind with some people. And those are the things that can get them unelected. So those, Rishi Sunak, you should be looking at. You should be looking at those sort of things. Because the other sort of thing that is going to upset you is going to topple you if you're not careful. You've got to... When it says everybody is going to have to make a contribution, then that means everybody, and we shouldn't have an elite in something called the House of Commons who get stuff that we don't. That is not fair. Not fair at all. And so that's the area I think he's going to have to clobber the rest of us. So that's fine. We understand that. We understand that. But when he says everybody, we want to know that he meant everybody. That he will do with MPs what he's going to do with us. And that really is the key to success. What are we going to see for it? I don't know. And as you can tell, I'm not concentrating totally on what I'm saying because I'm trying to find Councillor Catlin's piece, in which he it makes a very, very good case over how we're treating our poor in this neck of the woods. In fact, a very good piece, and I think that we should yeah, it's just not coming. It's just not coming, I'm afraid. Well, let's like Lewis, even if you do have to put up with me on the side thing. We seem to have no luck at all with liking Lewis at the moment. Perhaps there is a God there that's saying, "Hang on, you ain't so good as you look." There's a bit of Sodom and Gomorrah here. Who knows? Anyway, Kevin has asked me to perform my duty as usual and to determine which of the beers. Well, no, he's not asking a comparison. But what he is saying is, are they fresh? Are they drinkable? Are they ready for the customers in the bar at the White Hart? And of course, it's not the sort of thing that I would normally do, but for him, I will do it. So here we go with the Fosters. Oh, very palatable. The Anstel. Oh, a different taste altogether, but fresh and good and ready for palates desperate for a taste. And this is the Kronenberg 1664. Yes, that's okay too. So you've got the choice of three lagers there, given the sign of approval by Kevin, the bar manager, and myself, the bar fly. It's 10:49, by the way. The bar fly gives his approval as well. So do come if you're going to go and have a drink. Come to the White Hart, settle down, and let's see how everything is going. We're just 10 minutes or so away from saying a cheery bye. In fact, we're 10 minutes away from saying cheery bye. And I would like to see whether we can get one more little program in. So let's see what perhaps we've got, if we've got anything at all. Well, I you know what we should do is we should just pay a little bit more because it's coming up to the big day. We should just remind ourselves of. Right, okay. We've got. We've got a technical issue. Gosh, I didn't know. That it's held things like that. It warned us that we were holding. Naughty boys we were. We were holding 10 videos there, and it says you can only have 10. So there we are. Now, what were we going to show you? We were going to show you a little bit of more about Bonfire, because we've got to remind people about it as we go through this week.
Could be anywhere.
So there you are. That's what you can expect on Saturday, this coming Saturday, a date eagerly looked forward to by many people who live in Lewes, and it's here at last. Some I know have said in the past they prefer it even to Christmas. Exciting stuff. And we at Mirador will be covering the parade from the White Hart Hotel. And we invite you to join us. We'll be on the air about 6 o'clock. And we will go through until the bitter end, as it were, which we estimate to be about 10ish. But if it goes any longer for any reason, we most certainly will. Now, I just almost have finished the Fosters, so I think I'd better just have a little quick sip of the Amstel. Because in 2 minutes, when we end our broadcast, and it's now 10:58, in 2 minutes, the bar at the White Hart Hotel is open. Those who like a tipple, this is a place to come. It's a very civilized part of the world. Okay. I have been with you this morning from 8:30. I think that that's long enough for anybody for you to have to put up with. But we have had a few side issues where we could take off and take a look at other things. So it's time for me to say goodbye until tomorrow. And tomorrow we should have Max Hurd, along with Stuart Dolby. And Stuart is going to have, after hours, as it were, in about 12 o'clock on, an interview with Tony Robinson. So we invite you to join us for that. 10:59 it is. 10:59. We better say goodbye. I think we'll find out what we've got here in terms of here. Right. This will do nicely, I think, to take us out. So until tomorrow, toodle pip.